The auction yard reeked of dust and despair. Men in sweat-stained hats leaned against rusted fences, their faces unreadable under the blistering sun. At the center of the ring, a horse lay crumpled in the dirt, his chestnut coat dulled to the color of dried blood. A white heart marked his forehead, a symbol locals once called a blessing. Now, it felt like a cruel joke. The sign beside him read, $1, not negotiable. Not a mercy bid, just one cold dollar, the price of giving up. Lorelei Quinn stood at the edge of the crowd, her boots sinking into the mud. She hadn't planned to come, but the rumor had slithered through town like a snake. They're selling off Hollow. Her Hollow, the foal she'd raised, the horse her father had loved before grief and debt swallowed him whole. She pushed forward, her pulse roaring in her ears. The auctioneer's voice cut through the heat. $1, going once. Hollow's ribs shuddered with each labored breath. His legs, once powerful enough to outrun summer storms, now trembled under his own weight. Lorelei's throat tightened. She remembered the scar behind his ear from the night they'd huddled together in a blizzard, her father's voice shouting over the wind. "He's a fighter, Lori, just like you. $1 going twice." She stepped into the ring before she could think. The crowd stilled. "I'll take him." Her voice cracked but didn't break. She pulled a crumpled dollar from her pocket, the paper damp with sweat, and laid it on the platform like a vow. Rain began as she led Hollow away, the drizzle mingling with the dust on his coat. He stumbled every third step, his legs buckling as Lorelei braced his chest, her arms burning with the effort. "Not like this," she whispered, her lips pressed to his ear. "You don't die like this." By midnight, they were in her father's derelict barn. Hollow lay on a moldy mattress, his breath a shallow rasp. Lorelei knelt beside him, lantern light flickering over his sunken flanks. She told him stories of creek beds and wildflowers, of her mother's laughter, until her voice frayed. Just before dawn, his ear twitched, a feeble kick, a flicker of life. "You're still in there," she breathed, her tears falling into his matted mane. "Aren't you?" The barn became a battleground. For days, Lorelei lived in the stale air of Hollow's stall, her hands raw from mixing antibiotics into feed, her clothes reeking of liniment and sweat. Hollow's recovery was a jagged line, moments of progress dashed by fever spikes and infected wounds. She bartered her truck's spare tires for painkillers, sold her father's old saddle for fresh hay, and slept in fits, jerked awake by Hollow's labored breathing. The vet's warning haunted her. "He's alive, but his body's a house of cards." Marvin Kane, her gruff neighbor, became an unlikely ally. He arrived each dawn with buckets of clean water and a thermos of bitter coffee, his silence more comforting than platitudes. Together, they rigged a pulley system to hoist Hollow upright, the horse's legs trembling like saplings in a storm. "Ain't about strength," Marvin muttered, as Hollow swayed, nostrils flaring. "It's about wanting to stand." Lorelei clung to those words, etching them into her weary bones. Then, the past stormed in. Jace Halver's truck rattled up the driveway at twilight, its headlights slicing through the barn shadows. Lorelei froze, a pitchfork in hand, as he stepped out, taller, wearier, but unmistakable. The man who'd bred Hollow then vanished when lawsuits devoured her father's legacy. His eyes locked onto Hollow, now gaunt but alive, and something fractured in his hardened face. "Came to see if the rumors were true," he said, voice gravelly. Lorelei blocked his path, her boots rooted in the dirt. "You don't get to look at him." But Jace didn't leave. He returned the next day, and the next, lingering at the edges like a ghost. He brought supplements, a stack of vet manuals, and a truth that unraveled Lorelei's world. Over whiskey and the stench of antiseptic, he confessed. Hollow wasn't just discarded, he was hidden. Her father had forged bloodline papers, breeding him in defiance of registry elites. "They threatened to destroy us," Jace admitted, his calloused hands shaking. "Your dad swore he'd protect Hollow. Then the debt collectors came, and I ran." Lorelei's rage was a living thing. She hurled the whiskey bottle into the night, its shattering glass echoing her fractured trust. "You left him to die." Jace didn't flinch. I'm here now. A week later, the legal notice arrived. The envelope bore the stark emblem of the Thoroughbred Registry. Unauthorized possession of an unregistered stallion. Mandatory surrender or court action. Lorelai's knees buckled. She crumpled the letter, then smoothed it, her tears blurring the ink. Hollow nuzzled her shoulder, his breath warm but weak. Marvin spat into the dust. They'll shoot him first chance. That night, Lorelai made a choice. She unearthed her father's old exhibition saddle. Its leather cracked but sturdy. We're finishing what he started, she told Hollow. Her voice steel. Jace argued. Marvin sighed, but neither stopped her. They trained in secret. Dawn rides through Scrobeland. Hollow's strides growing steadier. Lorelai's hands relearning the language of reins and trust. The morning of the Fall Valley exhibition. Hollow's coat gleamed under dawn light, the white heart on his forehead blazing like a rebellion. Lorelai fastened her father's brass spurs. Her reflection in Jace's truck mirror a stranger's, fierce, fragile, alive. They'll try to break us, she whispered, pressing her forehead to Hollow's. But we're already broken. Now we fight. The Fall Valley exhibition grounds hummed with polished arrogance. Gleaming trailers lined the fields, their horses prancing like royalty, coats shimmering under the sun. Lorelai stood at the edge of the crowd. Hollow's reins clutched in her trembling hand. His hooves pawed the dirt, not with nerves, but anticipation. He knew. She smoothed the white heart on his forehead, her father's jacket hanging loose on her shoulders. Time to rewrite the rules, she whispered. They entered the arena to silence. Whispers slithered through the stands. That's the unregistered one. Look at the scars. Hollow's gait was uneven, his muscles still rebuilding, but his head stayed high, ears pricked forward. Lorelai ignored the stares, focusing on the rhythm of his breath, the heat of his neck beneath her palm. The judges scribbled notes, faces impassive. One, a silver-haired man with a monocle, leaned back, lips curled as if smelling rot. The challenge began with a trumpet blast. Lorelai mounted, her boots settling into stirrups worn thin by her father's dreams. Hollow tensed, then surged forward, not the fluid gallop of champions, but a ragged, defiant trot. She guided him through figure eights, pivots, and sudden halts, their movements raw but synchronized. Dust clouded around them, stinging her eyes, but she didn't blink. Every turn screamed, "We exist." Every stride hissed, "We belong." Halfway through, the heckler struck. Fraud! A breeder in a tailored suit shot to his feet, spittle flying. That horse is a liar. You're spitting on tradition. The crowd buzzed, phones raised, hungry for spectacle. Hollow faltered, his ears flattening. Lorelai tightened her grip on the reins, her voice cutting through the chaos. Look at him, she wheeled Hollow to face the man. Look at his eyes and tell me he's a lie. The arena stilled. Hollow's chest heaved, sweat streaking his scars, but his gaze never wavered, steady, fierce, alive. The breeder opened his mouth, then froze. The silver-haired judge stood abruptly, monocle glinting. Name, he barked. Hollow, Lorelai said. Louder this time. And the brand? She hesitated, then parted Hollow's mane, revealing the crescent moon and star. Gasps rippled. The judge stepped closer, his stern facade cracking. James Quinn's mark, he muttered. I thought it died with him. The truth erupted like a dam breaking. The crowd learned of forged papers, threats. Her father's obsession to prove worth wasn't bound by bloodlines. Jace emerged from the shadows, his voice booming over the loudspeaker. I bred Hollow. I ran. But she, he pointed to Lorelai, reminded me what courage looks like. The arena buzzed, cameras flashing, but Lorelai saw only Hollow, the horse who'd carried her father's secrets, her grief, and now their redemption. The verdict came at dusk. No trophy, no ribbon. Instead, the silver-haired judge approached, his voice low. The registry won't recognize him, but I'll make sure they remember him. He pressed a faded photograph into her hand, her father astride a younger Hollow, both grinning under a stormy sky. James would have hated this place, he said. But he'd love this moment. As the crowd dispersed, Lorelai found Jace by the gates. Why'd you come back? She asked. To see if his heart was still beating, he said, nodding at Hollow. Turns out, mine was too. He tipped his hat and vanished into the twilight, leaving her with the weight of forgiveness she wasn't ready to hold. That night, under a sky smeared with stars, Lorelei unfolded her father's letter. His slanted handwriting blurred as she read, "You'll think I failed him. But you're here, so I didn't." Hollow nuzzled her shoulder, his breath warm, as Marvin's truck rumbled up the driveway. "Where to now?" he grunted, eyeing the empty trailer. She smiled, tucking the letter into her jacket. "Wherever he wants to run." The seasons turned, and the scars of the past softened into stories. Lorelei's ranch, once a relic of loss, hummed with new life. Wild flowers burst through cracked soil where trailers once parked, and the barn patched with reclaimed wood and stubborn hope, sheltered creatures the world had discarded. A three-legged coyote, a blind mare, a rooster with singed feathers. Hollow ruled them all, his white heart gleaming like a beacon. He grazed in the meadow now, muscles rebuilt, his gait still uneven but unashamed. Lorelei watched him from the porch, her father's letter tucked in her breast pocket, its edges frayed from rereading. The thoroughbred registry never recognized Hollow, but his legend spread. Strangers arrived, photographers, writers, a documentary crew, drawn by the horse who'd defied a system. Lorelei turned them away, but she left the gate open for others. Kids from the res clutching drawings of Hollow. Veterans with trembling hands who found calm in his steady presence. Ranchers who'd hidden imperfect stock for years. "This ain't a sanctuary," she'd say, handing them a shovel. "It's a reckoning." Jace returned one spring morning, a scraggly Mustang colt in tow. "Found him tangled in barbed wire," he said, avoiding her eyes. "Thought you'd know what to do." Lorelei didn't thank him, but she handed him a coffee, black and bitter. They worked side by side in silence, Jace's rough hands gentler than she remembered. When the colt nuzzled Hollow's flank, Jace finally spoke. "Your dad hate what I did, but he'd love what you built." Lorelei stared at the horizon, where storm clouds bruised the sky. "He'd say it's a start." Marvin became the ranch's reluctant patriarch. He taught Lorelei to weld, fix engines, and read the desert's hidden language, the way ravens circled dead things, the scent of rain before clouds formed. One evening, as they repaired a fence, he nodded toward Hollow, who stood guard over a newborn lamb. "That horse ain't just alive," he grunted. "He's living." Lorelei smiled. For once, words felt unnecessary. The legal threats faded, not with fanfare but neglect. The silver-haired judge sent a postcard months later, its corner stamped with foreign postmarks. "Saw a colt in Argentina with James Mark. You started something." She pinned it to the barn wall, beside a photo of her father astride a younger Hollow, both grinning into a sun that hadn't yet burned them. On the anniversary of the exhibition, Lorelei rode Hollow to the canyon's edge. The wind whipped her hair, and the valley sprawled below, endless and forgiving. She dismounted, pressing her palm to the white heart on his forehead. "You're free, you know," she whispered. "You don't owe anyone this." Hollow nudged her shoulder, his breath warm, then trotted ahead, tail flicking as if to say, "I choose here. I choose you." That night, the ranch hosted a bonfire. Neighbors brought guitars and stories. Kids roasted marshmallows, and even Jace lingered, his laughter rough but real. Hollow stood at the edge of the light, a sentinel in the shadows, until a little girl with braids approached, offering an apple. He bent his head, and she giggled as his whiskers tickled her palm. Lorelei watched, her chest tight. This, not trophies or registries, was the legacy her father had craved, a place where broken things could heal, and healing things could belong. As embers faded to ash, Lorelei slipped into the barn. The Mustang colt slept curled beside Hollow. The lamb nestled against his legs. She knelt, her calloused hand brushing the crescent moon brand on the colt's shoulder. "We'll call you Storm," she murmured. Outside, Marvin's harmonica wailed a lonesome tune, and the desert sighed, alive with tomorrows.